Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of Pit Pass Network interviews. Today, I have the pleasure to be joined by co-owner of Cup Series team Live Fast Racing with BJ McLeod and Joe Falk, and a former NASCAR Cup and Xfinity truck driver, Matt Tifft. So thanks so much for joining us, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so you got back behind the wheel for the first time in 4 years, a long process from last weekend, racing three super late model races at Marshfield Speedway and Golden Sands Speedway, both local tracks in the state of Wisconsin. It's an inspiring story because you've had setbacks that have taken you out of the seat for a long period of time. The last time you were behind the wheel was at Kansas during your rookie cup season in 2019. Um, but the following week, prior to the Martinsville race, you suffered a seizure, which ultimately put your racing career to a screeching halt. So I guess walk me through the lengthy process of building your health back up to finally set foot in a race car, as I can imagine took a lot of patience.
Oh yeah. I think patience is an interesting word because I never figured that I'd actually be back in the race car at all. So really, my story since then has been pretty wild and hectic for sure. Going through that at at Martinsville, um, it was scary, but really, it happened so fast, and everything was just like, okay, what happened? It was shocking, it was scary. I've documented the story, but like I just was in the holler and making coffee, and a second later, I was on the ground, and I remember waking up in the ambulance. So um, for me, waking up from that, I was confused and disoriented and very post-ictal, they call it. But I was more worried about what was happening to me. But then, as I had a few more episodes happen after that, it really became like, okay, what's going on? Why is this happening? And so those answers were not coming at first. And I think going through this process of 2019 to 2021, as I was having these events happen, um, it was tough because like personally going through this, you lose your identity as a race car driver. I worked my whole life to get up to this point, and no matter what happened, they're good, bad, or indifferent. Like that's your one goal that you're going for. So from that time period is really weird because you're also going through losing your career, your job. But then we go into this odd COVID period. So even getting checkups and EEGs and all this stuff is a very nuanced process because of that. Dealing with insurance things and just all this craziness of like not being able to drive and like just like on the roads at all was so hectic. But then, really starting in 2022, as I had, a couple of years go by of not having seizures and things getting back to normalcy, then dealing with the PTSD of it and being on certain medications and coming off those medications and, so on some, but working with my doctors on that. And, through all this too, I got a divorce. Like all these things are going on to where 6 months ago I didn't really think I'd be in a race car at all, but I started wondering, okay, what can I do, and what can't I do? So I started kind of pushing that. I got back to training in the gym, doing things like that I hadn't been able to in a while, just from a pure fear basis, no physical reason. So building that back up was tough, but through that process, working with doctors, having the EEGs done, MRIs done, neuro testing done to see where I'm at today, really kind of proved like, okay, I could go do this. And my wife asked me a year ago, she's like, "Do you think you'll ever drive a race car again?" I said, "Probably not. It just wasn't on my radar." So to go do this was a giant step, really from a health perspective, of course, but even just the mental side to go do it. I knew I could physically, I knew I had the skills still, but that mental hurdle was a big one.
Yeah, for sure. That's just a really inspiring story there. If it, like your perseverance through all that, like, and I've like all of us NASCAR fans are like really happy to see the news that you were able to come back and race some cars again. That's just has been such a thrill ride last weekend.
Well, well, first off, I appreciate that. it's crazy because you forget some things about what it's like to be in the car. And I'm, obviously owning Live Fast Motorsports, you see them all the time and you're part of it still. But being in that seat is so different. And um, I was sitting there for qualifying the first night there on Saturday night. I'd done the test a few months before at Hickory, but going up there and be like, okay, it's time. It's not practice anymore. Like we're going. Qualifying is always nerve wracking because like you got to go do your job and got to go do your deal. But it was like back to being 14 where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking like, oh shit, here we go. So it was cool. Definitely a giant array of emotions because like you do it for a while, you're kind of in it, the stress and the anxiety and the fun and the downloads and getting pissed off and all this, but when you have a small sample of like a 30 lapper Saturday night race, like that's it, and then two back-to-back 30 lappers on Sunday, that's a very small amount of time to go in there and drive. And if you mess up a little bit, the fields, they're going. Like it's a short race. So compacting that and really pressure packing it was a great thing. But the Saturday night race, we had a red flag. I was sitting there, and it took me a second to like kind of chill and relax because my adrenaline was just like, level 10 would normally be like a 7 or so for a late model race, but it's a lot of fun, a lot of suppressed emotions for years, and I might have been a bit more vocal and passionate through the weekend than maybe I would have normally been. But I also think that's part of like, hey, this can be taken away, so you better go enjoy it when you get those chances to go do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you did pretty solid too for your first race back. The first race at Marshfield, you finished fifth, and then the two feature races at Golden Sands, you finished fourth and seventh. So I guess how would you assess your performance, like your first races back?
Yeah, I'd say a little rusty. We got the pole on Sunday, which was cool. I think I don't know if I would say it was a great performance, but going back in the car after being away for that long, I didn't feel like I missed too much of a beat. Definitely late models though. It's been a long time since I've been there, so my feel for a late model was a bit off for sure. It'd been a long time since I've raced one. So I'd say there are situations where I might have like thought about something a bit too long, and there'd be opportunities that did kind of walk by me to go past, but I'd say other times I was more aggressive than I used to be. So I would give myself a B. And I got room to go from there. So anytime you go to these races and you show up and want to go win, that's where my mindset's at now. And it always has been, but it's just even more so again with having these chances, not always knowing where they're coming. So until I go win and be in victory lane there, it's going to be tough to give myself a good grade. But I think as time goes on, I learned what I need in these cars. The tire rules are so crazy in the late model stuff. Like Saturday, we were on a harder tire. Then Sunday, we were on a recap tire, so a retreaded tire. Never been on that. Didn't really know the soaking deal and all that. So I don't think we were great with that. Practice and qualifying were good. I don't think I really set that up well for the race. So yeah, I'm looking forward to running like a 100 lapper when we're on straight up, F35s and 45 tires and going to give that a straight shot, like a normal deal. But I don't know. I think if I can go into 24 with a decent budget and some funding behind it, I'd love to go run some bigger late model races and maybe do some dirt stuff. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm not excluding anything at this point, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And um, I guess the seizures you experienced in 2019 was not the only hurdle you had to jump over. In the past, in July of 2016, you suffered a brain tumor as well. Um, so I guess walk me through that process of that summer as well, and how ultimately you got back behind the wheel. So like pretty fast. It was just a couple months later you got back behind the wheel in September.
Yeah, the brain tumor deal was very tough, but compared to the two, I'd say it was a lot easier. So it was kind of a go in, get it done, get it out type of thing. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of mental challenges with that. But to get back in the car, NASCAR wise, there's a lot of neurocognitive testing done. So it was a right frontal lobe craniotomy. I don't know if you can still see this on the Skype or on the Zoom here, but my scar goes from about here all the way down here, where they chopped that thing open. About a $5 size tumor that was taken out. So it was taken out. Luckily, it was not cancerous yet, so there was a great catch in there. It was a successful surgery. Got it up just July 1st, and then Went to a recovery process. Had I think 144 stitches. My head was like swollen out to here. And so while that went on, my question was like, how can I get back and all this stuff? So we went to Duke to go work with one of the top neurosurgeons and neurologists in the country, and they recommended certain tests to be done. They worked with NASCAR, so very, very high credentialed folks that were working hand in hand with me to go get that clearance back. But it's tough because there's no written rule of what goes on in there with a brain tumor. So that was pretty different and really interesting to go through that process. But I'd say overall, the biggest thing was making sure that my health was good enough to go race other people. What was that risk level? And similar to now with those same questions, but making sure that I could go out there and be cognitively on the same level as other people that I'd be going against.
Yeah, for sure. We're just all really gracious that you made it through that unscathed, and we get to talk to each other today. And it's a great blessing. And I see behind you, you got your reward for your 30 under 30 Forbes reward. And if fans that don't know, uh, Forbes does a 30 under 30 list, and that honors 30 notable athletes under the age of 30. And you got highlighted last year as being like the youngest Cup Series team owner at the age of 24. So I guess what I mean to have a part of that list because you do have a unique story.
Yeah, it was something I never saw coming at all. There's a reporter that asked me some questions about just general things, and I had no idea there'd be any consideration for that at all. Yeah, I think it's been amazing over these last few years about just the obstacles I've gone through, how much really God's blessed my life and been able to come through this and been able to inspire people, but. I think a lot of it has been timing. A lot of it has been, where I've been able to be fortunate enough to be a part of things and had opportunities in that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to be in. But to be a part of that class and that group, it's amazing people. They're inspiring people, the entrepreneurs, the motivation speakers, the athletes, all of these people that are changing the world. When I got into this, I'm like, wow, this is cool, but I didn't feel like I really fit in the group completely. So getting to be in those groups and learn what other people are doing, I learned that I did fit in, but it definitely felt odd at first. But I think getting to be a part of a young group like that, that's creating things and changing things, and whether that's in any rate of business, to be a part of that Forbes group is really special. I'd say it's one of the top achievements of my life, and it's been really, really amazing to be a part of that and to have that as a resume builder, so to speak. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I guess the fans at home that don't know the Math Tiff before the NASCAR scenes, I guess walk me through your background and what got you into racing.
Yeah, I grew up just south of Cleveland, Ohio. My dad, he owned a dirt late model up in Michigan. He was from Michigan. The driver's name was David Hilliker. So I go up there to watch races as a kid. I got the bug early. I was probably 5, 6 years old, going up there to watch races. And every summer, my birthday around in June, and then Labor Day weekend, we go up there and they'd have the winged outlaw dirt late models. And love that stuff so much. So we go there, we go to Eldora. It's really grew up around the dirt stuff. And then around '03, started going to Homestead every year with my dad and my grandpa. So did that for a while. Then I think I begged the crap out of my parents for a very long time to go get into racing. I started go-kart racing at Barberton Speedway in Ohio. Went through a lot of the WKA stuff, so 2-cycle and 4-cycle, and then from there I went. I think I was 12 years old. I went to the finish line school in New Smyrna Speedway in New Smyrna, Florida, and there's a guy there, a big guy wearing Oakley glasses and affliction shirts, and his name is BJ McLeod. He was the main instructor there, and so went through the school, and then a few months later ended up driving for him at Speed Weeks, and basically went from there in the South and Wisconsin. Won the ASA Midwest for Rookie of the Year, and got to win a few races up there. Raced with BJ down in the South, and eventually to K&N. Then got hooked up with Kenny Schrader and ARCA, And from there, kind of got hooked up with the KBM folks and JGR, and that's kind of how it all happened.
Yeah, it's very cool. And it's so crazy like how things go in full circle too with BJ. How like now you guys own a cup team together, along with Joe Fox. That's just crazy. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
and
Yeah,
then
it's wild how that stuff goes sometimes. It's pretty special to be able to go say that it's been a part of my career, and even when I wasn't racing, just to be able to have that and still keep it part of my life and learn all this stuff behind the scenes. And I run a lot of the business development areas of Live Fast Motorsports and our sponsorships and partnership deals. So that's been really fun for me. I really enjoy that.
sure. And do you remember like your first ever race? Do you remember your first ever car number?
Oh yeah, yeah. My number was always 89. Yep. Yeah, we had a blue, I think it was a cadet cart maybe, and it had silver duct tape numbers on the side of it.
Yeah, that's very cool. And any family member racer as well, past or present?
My dad raced a little bit up in Michigan in street stocks, but not too much. He did between like 16 and 18 years old. They called him Chet the Jet. He was a big Bulls fan. I think he's a player there. But yeah, he did a little bit, but he hadn't really since then. And I think it was '06 maybe we went to the Jeff Gordon driving school in Nashville, and he got to go drive the car there. I remember riding the passenger seat, and that's why I got hooked on it and wanted to go really do it. So um, other than that, not really. They just had the dirt late model team though that I'd always be going around and kind of living vicariously through them a bit on the racing side.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned about Jeff Gordon, and I saw on your website that he's actually your favorite driver growing up. So I guess what sparked being a Gordon fan for you?
Yeah, it's interesting how that's changed over time because, I think as when I was little, being 5, 6 years old, and it's a flame car, and being a little kid in the height of NASCAR, that was the deal, So I think I just kind of liked that, and it got me to have a guy in racing. Always been a big Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin fan. So I think there's been a lot of guys that I've always either enjoyed their driving style, personalities, or just I think there's a lot of people that shape the sport in different ways. And I think at different points in my career, there's people I've been around that I've looked up to. And Jeff was that for a while. Loved meeting and getting to watch back some of Mark Martin stuff. And there's just so many people in our sport have done such an amazing job from either racing, driving, mentoring outside the sport, how they promote things. We've had so many incredible athletes.
Yeah, for sure. And I just looked up. There's the Blaney's. They're from Ohio. So did you
Mhm.
look up with Dave Blaney? Like he was a dirt racer as well. And so did you happen to race him too? Like when you did the dirt modifieds as a kid because he lived in Ohio or from Ohio?
Yeah, no, no. I always knew of him. I always knew of Dave, but I think they call him Buckeye Bullet, but I might be wrong there. But yeah, I knew of him. But that's the sprint car world. I knew more of the late model stuff, and he was definitely around the Ohio circle where really I kind of grew up around the Michigan circle of racing. So wasn't as much a follower of the Ohio dirt car scene. Sometimes we'd go race at like Hudson or Sandusky, something like that. But that was really about it.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess so this is your second season with the new Live Fast Racing team. So I guess how would you assess like last season now and then so far this season?
Yeah, that's actually our third season, but second one with next gen cars. So really, it feels like our second a lot of the time because how much has changed. So I think the big thing for us is, we are a smaller team. We don't have the funding as the big guys. We're definitely the smallest. As far as people on full time payroll and all things that way. So when we look at performance, when we have a full effort going on, we're always full effort. But when it comes to just being able to completely have help and do everything at the top level. You look at the restricted plate tracks, what we can do there, the road course with Josh Bilicki. I think those are Anthony Alfredo coming in for a couple of races. developing the young guys, having bigger partners for BJ come in. That's where we get to have fun and get to go manage things and get to grow things. Other weeks it's a bit tough because we have to be able to, go out there and perform. But it's hard sometimes because these guys have very, very robust R&D centers and tons of engineers, and we're kind of doing it on our own. So we can go try and do things, and go take advantage of it. We finished, top 10 at Daytona 21, 22 this year, not so much. So sometimes there's big moments like that. Josh this year running around 12th to 16th all year, all day at Coda, being able to go run really well at Sonoma with some of the big guys and run with the Penske cars. That's big for us. So those are cool things of growth in there. But, overall, it comes down to funding and money by speed. And we don't have that week to week. But the times we do, it's fun to go put on the show and see what we can do. But it's been really good. I feel like the switch from Ford to Chevy this year has definitely helped us out. ECR guys have been awesome. So it also comes down to executing because when you don't quite have all the resources behind you, you miss one step and that's your whole day. Back in 21, you could definitely be, 25th to 28th is on a budget that we are now. And now it's like you're the smallest fish. So that's been tough, but you just got to keep on persevering and see what you can do week to week because attrition definitely plays a part. Sometimes you can go hit on the setup and run inside the top 30, which doesn't sound very sexy, but that's the reality of how tough the Cup Series is now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one really cool component of your team is allowing like some drivers to strap in a cup car for the first time. I remember like Josh Williams was last year and Kyle Tilley the year before. So I guess yeah, just the opportunities there.
Yeah,
Really
yeah. I
cool.
think that's been fun for us to watch people come in and try their hand in cup racing. And like you mentioned, Josh, Kyle, guys like that. Shane Golobic at the dirt race a couple years ago. That's fun for us to go see what they can do. And not everyone gets that chance. And then we offer a little bit of a stepping stone for some guys. We have Sheldon Freed here next week in Kansas for him, Truck Series champion to come in and try it out. So those are cool things we get to do. And I think that's a really neat place that there may be used to be a bit more of in the Cup Series, but as things have moved on, it's hard to see that as much. So unless they open up another fourth team for three car teams or fifth car, so that's allowed us to find a little bit of a niche in there. And yeah, that's been really neat to see guys come in, get their feet wet, learn things, and watch them grow as a driver in their NASCAR careers.
Yeah, it's very cool. And do you guys have any technical alliances with any teams?
So right now our alliance is with ECR, so some of the motor help there. But really outside of that, before the Ford switch to Chevy, the biggest thing we had was switching over to the ECR help there. And but most of the time we're kind of on our own from that, and that's okay. We're trying to do what we can with our budget.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, and then how did the opportunity come about to form this Cup team?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was 2020. So I had previously looked at the Cup teams before, just in the landscape because it was so interesting when I was a driver, learning about this and what the charter landscape looked like. And I had thought about team ownership when I retired. I didn't know it's gonna be that quick, but that was definitely at the forefront of my mind. I thought there's an opportunity with the next gen car coming. I think that scared a lot of people. I thought I saw it as an opportunity to come in, see a different playing field of what the cars could be, of what that looked like for investors in the sport. And so I think that was for industry stakeholders a big opportunity. So I was looking around some. Apparently, BJ was too. So there was, a connection made on our sides of like, hey, let's go look for this. And RJ St. Hilaire and the Go Fast Racing team ended up selling. So we talked to them, and so we bought their charter and their equipment as well for the 21 season. We were at that time, before the COVID period hit, we were all thinking that it was going to be going into a year where the next gen car was going to be debuted in 21. So we're expecting to kind of go right into that. But shortly after we started talking, the cars weren't quite ready. pandemic stuff hit, so we had to go buy, a fleet of cars to get through 21. And we had a pretty decent year. I think our average finish was around 28th or 29th, and had some fun runs in there. And but yeah, the giant switch for 22, the undertaking of the next gen car was a big undertaking, and definitely 22 was a bit of a rough stretch to get through that, and from the financial capability or the circumstance we had to go through, and just that investment was big. But I think we made the most of it, and we're definitely a lot quicker this year than we were last year, as we've learned from a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. And then starting out like when you guys bought the charter from Go Fast, um, did the pit crew members from Go Fast like transfer over to your team then, or did you guys get completely new ones, or how'd that go about?
Yeah. So a lot of the mechanics a lot of them had moved on. So Corey LaJoy, their team with Ryan Sparks, a lot of them went with them. I think we had a couple guys stay, but for the most part, we're kind of mixing and matching new pieces in there. So it really was a new team. As far as the pit crew, we have a Sewer Haas Racing pit crew, and we leased them. So that was the pit crew side of things, and still is.
That's very awesome. And then how big of an adjustment was it initially for you to help lead a team and own one, as you primarily are a race car driver?
Yeah, it was a hard adjustment at first. Learning what all is, there's the tip of the iceberg, but then what's below that. And that's really the ownership side that I wasn't aware of. So I think, between BJ, Jessica, his wife, and myself there, finding out what our roles were was a big deal. So the first year of me learning what should we all do, who fits in where, I found my best asset was bringing in partnerships and helping manage those. And competition side at first was definitely on BJ's side. And I think as we've grown, we've definitely merged some areas, and still primarily on the partnership and the BD side of things. But I kind of tinker in different areas, but that's 80 to 90% of my job is still in the BD spot. But the big thing that changes is, as a driver, you're responsible for yourself and then working with your team guys, but you're not really worried too much about what else goes on. You're worried about your performance and how can you elevate the team. But from the ownership side, you got to make sure, from the money coming in, your expenses, normal business stuff, about the decisions you make directly impact the guys out here, their families, what that means to them, their paychecks. And so that's a big responsibility. And really just controlling the destiny of your team, and what you have to go spend, and what does that mean for a 3 to 5 year outlook on the company. So definitely become more of a company man, and a lot of strengths and weaknesses I define within myself. And I think every year that grows and changes. And I'd say, in that regard, I've definitely grown a ton from 2020, 2021 to this point. And it's been fun, but yeah, I mean, the competitor in me is always there. Sitting in the pit box, I'm definitely, I don't want to say anxious, but just like that energy of, like, wanting to be in that competition spot. So, looking at SMT and things like that are fun for me, because I feel like I'm in it still. But it's all part of it, and I think everyone in the sport has that passion for racing. So whether you drove or not, I mean, every one of these people are racers.
Yeah, for sure. And then do you help run the social media pages at all?
So I don't directly run them. However, Cora, our PR girl, she does an awesome job with them. But she and I work together to plan some of the content that goes out, what our partners want to go out. So we work hand in hand about how we do that. So it is a big side of what I do. But as far as creating and generating the content, that's all her. And I think she does an awesome job with it.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess now going back to your racing days, I think something very impressive I saw is both your Truck Series debut and your Xfinity Series debut, you scored a top 10. The Truck Series was at Martinsville, and the Xfinity was at Kentucky, and you drove for BJ McLeod Motorsports actually at
Yeah.
at Martinsville. So he gave you your first opportunity in trucks, and then you drove for Gibbs and Xfinity. So what would you say? Would you say that, like, starting out that hot, because it's not too often in a NASCAR debut, let alone like two of them, that both truck and Xfinity, that you get top tens. So would you say that was a confidence booster early on in your NASCAR career that helped power you up in the races after?
Yeah, it definitely was. I think looking back at my NASCAR career, it was kind of up and down. So I had those big moments, and then I kind of got into places where, like, I felt like 2015 was still pretty good. 2016 got off to a really good start with, going to 2015, going to JGR. We had an awesome run. We in second with 10 to go. I screwed up the restart entirely and got at the end to go finish 10th. We should have been much better than that. But for me, going to 2016, awesome start to the year. Then the brain tumor deal happens. And I would say for me, 2017 was awful. A lot of people give me crap for that. Still always did. But it was hard for me to go bounce back. And even though I was clear to go back, I don't think I was completely 100%. Even though I felt like it, I knew once I got to 2018, change the scenery at RCR, that I was not 100%. Just because, like, at the playoff time, I felt like we ran a lot better. But those early spring and summer months there, I didn't feel like I was completely maybe in tune with everything going on. And I don't know if that was just if it was because of me recovering or what, but it just didn't feel like I had it, like the it factor anymore. And so by the playoffs, by the time they came, I felt like it was a lot better. I worked with a was a sports psychologist there. He kind of got me back. 2018 with RCR, I thought was really good. The second half of my front row career, I thought was really decent for the stuff we had. So I feel like the initial intros in there showed to me I had the skill. There's a lot of runs I thought were really good. I feel like the biggest thing was time. If I could go back and add one more year in trucks, maybe 1 to 2 more in Xfinity, I probably would have been more of a mainstay in those series, maybe go win races. But that just wasn't the plan that ended up going out. But I feel like, looking back, I never felt at the end of my career like I lacked the confidence or skill in there. I feel like I just never got the chance to go win and dominate races. And I wasn't quite there. There's flashes of it, but I definitely wish we'd go back and have a bit more time to go sit in those situations a bit more. And but that is what it is, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. And another special moment I just found was in August of 2017, you actually made your first ever NASCAR race at your home state in
Yeah.
Ohio in the Xfinity Series at Mid Ohio with Joe Gibbs Racing. And I feel like it was home field advantage for you because you scored your career best that day of third. So what did that mean to you as you to achieve that milestone of getting your best career finish in front of your hometown fans that day?
Yeah, it definitely led from there to it was a rough season up to that point. Like I said, I don't know what was going on completely, but it just wasn't clicking. And that was the first race I felt like I was back. I felt like the road course stuff was a strength of mine, always had been. So it put me back into a track where I was comfortable, even though I hadn't been to Mid Ohio before. But it just felt good and had a lot of people there, a lot of fans, a lot of support. It felt fun. I felt loose that weekend. I think I realized later on I need to feel loose and have fun. I was very serious, very picky, and very hard on myself. I definitely have a lot of that every day, even in this role where I do that too much. And I think I got swept up into that, and it made me question decisions. And so that weekend kind of led to having more fun. Then followed up by a lot more, big runs like Road America, big finish there with Jeremy Clements, and the next year following a lot more second place finishes come on. And I think it was just being able to play loose, have fun, go do that, and have the joy back in racing. Hadn't felt that for a bit, and so the Mid Ohio things were always cool. And then actually having the Cleveland Indians at the time, now the Guardians, sponsored the car throughout the first pace. Like that was always such a cool, special deal for me to go race at Mid Ohio. I definitely do miss that, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like Mid Ohio and Road America were definitely your greatest strengths. You mentioned your road course racing. A couple weeks later, you finished third. You mentioned with Jeremy Clements there, and then the following year at those same tracks again, you finished third at Mid Ohio, and you finished second at Road America from the pole. So I guess what was it about those two tracks that produced so much success?
I think for me, like the Glen, I sucked at the Glen. I was so bad at Watkins Glen. My final cup race there was like, okay, I didn't suck today. So I feel like it was a lot of the track type of being slick and being a lot of finesse and being very technical about things that fit me. The Glen, throw it off in the corner and do that kind of deal. I didn't like it. I finally figured out. I remember like halfway through the cup race there in 19, was like, oh, okay, I think I finally got it. But as soon as I thought I got it, Jimmy Johnson passed me, and we're going to the bus stop. And said, "Man, I'm doing well with this. Like, I finally got him." He drives past a full, half a car length past me under brake. I'm like, okay, there's a reason why he's the GOAT. But I think those tracks were very sensitive to tires and tire management, being technical, being smart, and I feel like that played to my strengths. Whereas, before going to maybe Sonoma or other places, it could be okay, but I just didn't quite have the flow of it. And I think it finally clicked, and I had great cars too. If I could get them driving like a go kart, Matt Beckman and Randall Burnett, they had awesome road course setups, so I was able to lean on them a bit too. So again, I was able to go in, just go kind of play loose and fast and fun with it, and I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And we mentioned earlier, like your road racing, how strong you are on those. And did you like have a road racing background, like coming into NASCAR? And then if not, were there any drivers who helped you in those beginning stages to make you like a rainer?
Yeah, I mean, I did like road course go-karts and K&N, get a couple on the schedule, but not really. And then I went to Bondurant. Chris Cook, he taught me a lot out there. And then the best thing to help me was Chris Cook, but then we took a passenger car out to VIR, passenger stock car. And Michael McDowell helped me so much. He taught me a lot. So say Michael was probably one of the biggest helps. Chris Cook, like those two were the biggest assets that I had of the driver to lean on. And then when I was driving Xfinity, I started adding in Trans Am races in there too. So that helped get just comfortable through the day, get in rhythm. Michael Self, he helped me a lot during then. So if I had a bug in my ear, that really helped me out. So look at data and do those things. Back then in Xfinity, we didn't have SMT. So getting to go in Trans Am, look at data, do those things, and jump in the Xfinity car, you basically took everything and backed up everything by a car length. So I could go attack and be pretty confident in the track in myself. So that helped that transition from that morning to that night race or the afternoon race.
Yeah, for sure. And then in 2019, you made your Cup Series debut at the 61st running at the Daytona 500, a historic race over time. So I didn't mean to have the opportunity and to race in that race. And then I guess what it was like pre-race and all, like because it's so historic.
Man, it was such a cool day. At the same time, holy crap, was I nervous. It's I never got my feet wet in the Cup Series, never had driven a car at all in it. That was the last super speedway package with a small spoiler, very different feel. So the Gatorade duels went horrible. We were hitting the ground so much, like I had no confidence into that race at all. I actually think we're in a decent spot, like with maybe 20 to go. And then we got caught in the big one. But until then, I thought it was going pretty well. So I feel like it was okay. But man, the experience of that standing on the grid with the flyover, being a driver was just incredible. That feeling is pretty hard to get back. It's hard to replicate. It was an amazing event, such a historic event, as you said, and definitely one of those days that somebody, I think it might have been BJ, told me to just take it all in, soak it in on the grid. I'm glad I did because that moment for forever will be ingrained in my memory. Who knows if it'll ever happen again? Probably not, but I shouldn't say probably not. Maybe it will, but just that feeling of being in the Daytona 500 was absolutely special.
Yeah, it's very cool. And us fans are definitely rooting for you to make a return to the Daytona 500 and NASCAR in general. But and then also you got to experience later that season the other like historic race, the Coca-Cola 600, and that race is known as like the marathon of racing. So what was it like racing that long in a car?
Yeah, I actually didn't think it was horrible because with the four stages, you just mentally set up for okay, run 100 laps, then run 100 laps, and then do it again. So it was hot. We had the right side windows in that year for some reason, so there's no airflow. But so the first 200 laps were warm, but by the ends, being nighttime, there's just more going out and executing like normal. And it is a long race, though. Oh my gosh, it's so long. It's like 4 different races within a race. And I think that was the cool thing was you had to go out and execute for those 100 laps. You pit stop or two, and if you didn't get it good, if you didn't do it well that stage, you were messed up for the rest of the race. So it was a lot of pressure because you had to be, the wave around car or being in the free pass position. So you were really having to make sure you went out and had, kind of pseudo qualifying laps for those 100 lap periods.
Yeah, for sure. And then I know like running that long, like problems can occur too, like more easily. So like just in general, like any races, have you ever experienced like a broken air conditioner during a race?
Oh yeah, yeah, plenty of times. I think Sonoma. Oh yeah, Sonoma that year, lap two. It was so hot that day, like 100. We ran the carousel that day, and there was no airflow. I was spent. I was pretty decent about like not falling out of the seat too much. And that day I fell out of the seat so bad. It was so hot, no airflow. So getting out, I don't know if I don't think it did anything crush panel wise. Like if you knock a crush panel in, it's just smells horrible and you burn up. But luckily I didn't do that day. But getting out, I was just done. Martinsville, the first time I went there in the spring to go run 500 laps, that was brutal. Just being a little guy back then, 40 pounds lighter than I am now. But I might want to be in the middle somewhere. We'll see. But just like the constant brake pressure there, just the mental ability to stay exactly where you need to be and be aggressive lap after lap. I'd run truck races there, done all that, but once you get to about lap 400, like oh my gosh, and we didn't have a good car, it's way tight, so using way too much brake. So I remember going left foot brake and then right foot brake and then going to the middle pedal. I just straight up didn't have the strength to do it. Second time around was better. Well, I thought it was gonna be better. I was more trained for it, but I never got the shot to do it. So it's crazy. When you lose air conditioning or you lose like you knock a crush panel in or whatever. Michigan one time I had carbon monoxide pretty bad, but it's just all part of it. I think your adrenaline runs so high. That race I finished second at Road America. I'd been sick the week before, and so I started cramping really bad. And I went into full lock, like my head had locked up like a Charlie horse all the way down to my feet, like everything was locked down. I couldn't move my hand off the shifter. So I'd like throw the shifter, my hand would lock the steering wheel. That was a crazy race. So afterwards, I had to have a ton of IV bags, and they said I was pretty close to being into some danger of dehydration there. But normally I didn't get that bad, but that was definitely one of the worst ones.
Yeah, it's a lot of wild stories there. And I guess you mentioned like you were overheating at Sonoma, or the car was overheating like inside, like in Sonoma. And Brad Keselowski had that feeling last weekend at Daytona. Did you see the videos of him like spinning around during the red flag? Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what to think about. I mean, smart by him, but I thought you weren't really allowed to go work on your stuff. I don't know how that. I guess the safety deal is better for him to do that than burn it down. But I don't know if that should be a rule or not. You can't just go out of line and start doing like driving. I mean, that's a very different deal. But hey, heads up move by him. That's a heck of a deal to go put out that fire. So heads up move.
Yeah, all the memes are out on social media with all that, so that makes it fun though.
Oh, it looked like he was playing Xbox and his controller turned off. And he's just stuck in a perpetual circle. It's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, I had a story like one time I was doing the full Daytona 500 on the Xbox and my controller died with like 2 laps to go, and I was in perfect position to win,
Oh,
and it
geez,
just
yeah.
went drifted straight to the wall. It's rough moment of my life. But going back to your Cup rookie season, you drove the number 36, and I saw it as an honor of Ken Schrader when he drove the 36 during his racing days. And you mentioned earlier he gave you an opportunity in ARCA in 2014. So I guess what impact did Schrader in your early upbringings of your NASCAR career have on you?
Yeah, Trader's awesome. He definitely taught me, who I need to be as a driver, what I need to do and not need to do as far as qualifying, cup race. I mean, not cup racing, qualifying and racing in there. He and Donnie Richardson were just incredible. Gave me a lot of confidence, taught me a lot of things about the cars. That period of my career was so fun, getting to go be in the Gen 4 style cars and the big motors and just that whole group was the first time I really felt like, I just moved down to Charlotte. So getting to feel that sense of family and the team and feeling like I'm really a part of it. When you move around, going from Wisconsin to Florida and you have different teams and doing all that, it's hard to feel really cohesive, but to go there and feel part of the group was there was awesome. And learning from him like his stories and what he'd gone through and his career and his advice. It's one of the best people I've ever known in racing and know in racing. But he was an amazing mentor, and I definitely have a lot to thank for of him. Giving me some referrals and stuff to get into some of the extending deals, and yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah, he's definitely an icon in the sport. And then one other thing that happened during your rookie year, during the season at Michigan, you actually got your truck towed during qualifying. So I guess walk me through that story.
Yeah, so I had just gotten done with qualifying, and so back then we had a different day for qualifying completely. It was after practice. I think it was a Friday or Saturday. Anyways, I was driving a Ford Ranger pickup truck. And I'm still mad about it because the TV interview, the camera guy like zooms in on F350. I was not driving F350, and I looked like an idiot because of it. I know it was a Ford Ranger, it's like brand new. Anywho, I jump in, I'm like running over because I see my truck getting towed. I parked in team parking, but I don't know if it was just too far into the road or what. It was close. It was borderline, but I thought it'd be okay. Anyways, the team van comes flying out. They roll out the door. We get in it, and then we just go flying around the track to the back straightaway, chasing it. I'm still in my fire suit. We get back there. The guy was like, "Okay, I won't charge you." I don't know if I had to sign. I think I signed some autographs for him or something. But we got it back. But yeah, I literally parked the cup car in the garage. I get out, I see it, and I just bolt it out there. So yeah, it was something. It's right in front of the fans too, where they're like signing autographs in front of the gate of the garage area. So they got a full show of what was going on there.
That's such a wild story. Just and then just getting to or that the worker just sign your autographs to you. That's just crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
he was doing his job. I don't know. I probably parked it illegal. I'm terrible parking.
and I guess there is a lot of as of late in the Cup Series, there's been a lot of schedule changes too. Just adding a lot of new different racetracks like ovals, road courses, more road courses in the schedule, and even a dirt race and a street course. So how well do you think the evolution of the sport has been the past few years?
Well, I think it's good not to be stagnant. I feel like we don't need to go to any track more than once. I think there's a lot of tracks we can go get rid of a second date and go explore different areas, whether that's I went to St. Louis and that's been a hit. I think we can get rid of a second date like at Kansas. I don't think we should have a second date. I think we should go to Montreal or maybe go somewhere else. I mean, it's tough to say why we go to a track two times. I think Texas. It's been nice to go to Dakota and to Dallas, but still, I feel like there's challenges. With every track, whether it's attendance or racing or whatever. But I think the big thing you see different now is tailgating. Back in 2019, there's a picture of Pocono with almost nobody in the infield there. Now it is sold out every single weekend. I think a big change has been like, hey, we have to go promote these tracks to be successful. And that's been a big push by NASCAR, but also the teams, because if they're taxing grandstands, it's fun for sponsors, fun for everyone there. If it's half empty and you go around, there's grass everywhere, it looks bad. It really does. So I feel like there should be that sense of urgency that hey, the circus is coming to town, so to speak, and it makes you want to go there. I mean, it should be a touring series. I think we should have more dates in different locations. I don't think we need to go to places more than once, and I think because of that, it creates a bigger buzz. There's less headaches with it, but also that area gets a special event, and maybe we can extend the day or something for driver appearances or whatever it might be. But I just don't see why we have a race in the spring and the fall. I think it takes away from one because you may have no sense of urgency to a Phoenix in the spring for a driver to go push something or do whatever. If for a fan to come to that event, like, hey, I'll wait until the playoff race. So I think also the last race should be rotated every year. I don't think we should go to the same place every year. And I think that's been an advantage for some teams, but also for fans. Like, I think it should be like the Super Bowl where we go different locations. I think the Clash is a great idea, but I'd love to go see that in a different stadium somewhere else too. So I think we're going down the right path. These conversations would never happen 4 or 5 years ago. So I think that's awesome. However, I think we need to keep on going further with that. But the team's got to be, if we're going to go overseas or go to Canada, Mexico, whatever, we got to be able to go afford that and have it be worth our time to go through the crazy logistics of doing that too.
Yeah, it's really cool perspective there, just everything that's going on with the sport right now. And I guess earlier we were talking about home tracks with Mid Ohio, but you also got to race in your another home track, Eldora, in the Truck Series in 2015. So what was that experience like racing at NASCAR, especially on the dirt? Like that's like not as like common for
It
NASCAR.
was very unconventional. I was maybe 2 years removed from dirt late model racing, and it was unlike anything I'd ever done before. It was fun. I would love to go do it again at some point in a truck there, but I think the big thing was just survival. And really where you were in the field, there wasn't too much passing. There's some guys who could go and pass, but I didn't feel like it was that great. The pace was so slow, but it was a fun weekend though. The track changed so much. Christopher Bell was my teammate there, so I had to lean on him some, and it was a fun weekend, but. Definitely back then the Mud Summer Classic thing was so big, so that was a cool thing to be a part of. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, for sure. And we mentioned about Schrader earlier, and you got to race him that day as well. So what was that feeling like to race him that day?
Yeah, I think we got to race each other a decent bit in the race. We were top 10 most of the night. I got dumped at the end, but it was definitely neat to go race all those guys who are so good on dirt, including Schrader. Some other dirt late model guys were in there as well. Very different discipline in the trucks. It's not turning it completely sideways and all yacht out and putting against the fence. And there's some of that, but there's only so much you can get away with. The tires weren't very forgiving. So I think that's such a big difference from dirt racing where you just throw it up on the bars and mash the throttle. And this was like third gear, just pedaling a little bit. Now in a feature race, of course, you're on slick track, but this was just so different. The water was so different. It was a dirt track unlike I'd ever felt before. So I think we are all just out there learning.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of like different track styles and stuff, like what was your favorite racetrack you've raced on throughout your
Def
career?
Definitely Road America. Love that place. Yeah, so fun. So many, just changes throughout the entire course of speed sections and slow sections, like hard braking. The carousel is so fun. I don't know how it is now with the repave, but I mean, it just what a special place.
Yeah, for sure. And then besides road course type tracks, what was your favorite short, intermediate, and super speedway?
Hmm, good question. I think intermediate wise, I enjoyed Texas a lot back then. I don't know about now, but for the first couple years, it was fun. Short tracks, I wasn't the. I don't think I ever got the full knack for it, but when you like had a good run at Bristol, that was a lot of fun. I think like my favorite one though is probably Dover. I love Dover. And then I think that the challenge there, getting your car right and being able to go withstand all the rubber changes, doing that made it so tough. But one of the coolest tracks we go to for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then what would you say, like over the years, has been your biggest inspiration in your life?
Oh man, there's been so much in so many different areas. I feel like racing wise, there's always people that I looked up to, but it's hard to pick a person in there. But I feel like for me, I've had such an interesting story and such an interesting deal going on. I think really for me, the inspiration has been people who've reached out to me and who've gone through much worse stuff than I have. Brain tumor wise, people have gone through full on, grade 4 tumors and epilepsy, meeting people who their son has 100 seizures a day. Those people inspire me because they're going through something. And yeah, I did too, but they're going through so much worse. So to go meet those people and see what they go through, and they're looking up to me, I'm like, no, I'm looking up to you. I don't know how you do it. It's been pretty amazing with that. Then also, I'd say, this last year, I got baptized, and so people that are within my church and within the faith there has been amazing to learn what they do and to learn from them has been really cool. So, but before that, Blake Cook and Michael McDowell, guys who really inspired me to go learn more of that, and it's been incredible. My wife, she pushes me so much and challenges me. So Jordan, she and I just got married in a week or two. I guess I should know that probably, but we got married on the 18th of August. So she's someone who really pushes me and inspires me to be better. So I have a great support system, but it's just things are wild in life, man. You never know where they're going to go, and there's all kinds of business idols and stuff I have. But as far as inspiration, I'd say the biggest thing is those people have been through so much, and I get to go out and do my deal now, and I'm so lucky to do it. But those people are the ones that are really going through stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm a fellow brother in Christ as well, so glad to glad to be in this journey with you, and
That's
uh
awesome.
and uh and yeah, just so inspiring, just your story and stuff. And also think about like other sports other than racing. Uh,
Mhm.
do you enjoy watching any other sports?
Oh yeah, yeah, big Cleveland sports fan. More baseball and football than basketball. I used to be a bigger basketball fan. I'm not as big of a fan anymore. Not because of people like, oh, they're doing this like socially. No, I just don't like the fact that you don't have big guys playing physical anymore. The 3-point shoot is cool, but like I loved it when they scored 100 points and that was the big score in that. I love the big physical defensive battles of the Pistons and the Cavs in the 2000s. Those were awesome. Love my Guardians slash Indians baseball. Indians forever, growing up season ticket holders and stuff. Now the Guardians, Jose Martinez. So am I saying that right? I think so. Yeah, Jose Martinez, he's awesome. Yeah, big Browns fan. Always awful, but just a big letdown every Sunday. But I think it keeps me probably 20 years older, heart age there. But yeah, big Cleveland sports fan. I started watching F1 last year. It's really interesting, but obviously Red Bull domination right now has made it a bit boring. But I do enjoy watching other motorsports. Love dirt racing. Very very big into watching that. So would love to get more into that world, but we'll see how things go over the next year or two to go learn it. I'd be very rusty. I'd be brand new into it, realistically.
Yeah, it's very cool. And all those sports like mentioned and stuff, or any other sports, did you try any of those sports as a kid?
I tried soccer, I tried basketball, I tried baseball. I was terrible at everything. So this is the only thing that I got in and was like, oh, okay, this might work. I could rebound in basketball, but I couldn't dribble or shoot, and those are important things.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and outside of racing, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Really, the traveling part's fun for me. Drew and I, we get to go to different restaurants around cities and stuff. I enjoy that part. Being home. I love being home. We don't get to do that much, so maybe 3 days a week. So that's been a big thing of like just kind of being able to work on house projects. I haven't played piano in very long. I played for like 11 years, so I'm relearning how to play piano. And then just kind of learning like what else other people are doing. I know that's a very broad statement, but I love learning what people do in business, what they're doing in life. So I think just learning what other people are doing, becoming more well-rounded from that. I think before being a driver is very like this is my box, and now I'm like just kind of opening my eyes to everything. So seeing cities and people and culture and all that's really neat. I definitely love traveling. We get to go to Europe last year and been in maybe over a decade. And so went to Germany, Austria, London, went to Ireland, and that was really, really cool in Italy. In like an 8-day span, way too much in a short span, but I'd love to maybe do, one trip a year where we go to 2 or 3 countries and go explore and see what's out there. We see so much of this country in racing that's awesome, but I think it's cool to kind of open your eyes sometime and see what's out there. I would love to do some racing overseas and see what that's like.
Yeah, for sure. It's really cool. And I guess now end with a few fun questions I have here. So the first one is, did you have a favorite cartoon growing up?
Definitely SpongeBob.
Oh yeah, that's the OG there.
Oh yeah.
And then favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, I would say mint chocolate chip, but if I'm to be honest, like a Reese's Hurricane or Blizzard, that kind of deal is definitely where it's at.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong with that. And then do you prefer bone-in or boneless wings and favorite flavor of that?
Definitely bone in traditional garlic parm. I like half and half, so garlic parm and buffalo, both extra sauce on there with ranch.
Oh yeah, that's
I
definitely
actually had some last night.
wow, that's impeccable timing there.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny.
but that's very cool. So yeah, I guess closing out, everyone at Pit Pass Network enjoys to donate to a charity after each interview. So is there a charity you would like to highlight for us today?
Yeah, I think I'd like to donate to the American Brain Tumor Association. I've worked with them for a lot of years, and they do amazing work, and got some great friends over there. So they're really good at looking at the holistic picture of the patients and research and everything there. I've gone to a lot of different things in my time with the brain tumor community, going to Congress and working on charity events and all kinds of things. But to work at the ABTA, it's been amazing for me. And I think being able to go donate to them is awesome. I know we are doing this, but please remember Giving Tuesday when we come up to the holiday season to go pick your favorite charity. If it's the ABTA, that's amazing. But I know we have Black Friday and we have all that stuff, but for any charity of your choice, make sure you go save a couple bucks for Giving Tuesday. It makes a big impact for a lot of communities.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we love to get back there. But yeah, Matt, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a great time just chatting and getting to know you more and yeah, wish you the best of luck. The the racing like under the helmet you do in the future and in the ownership side. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Matt.
I appreciate it. Thank you.